Hello and welcome to the Nightmare Vault. Today we'll be covering Held.
Which, this is definitely going to be an interesting one because it's a relatively newer one, but it's quite highly rated.
Yeah, I found this one on the famous section of the CreepyPasta website. So for such a newer one to be on the famous section...
It had to have done something right.
Yeah.
Although its number of votes is a little concerning.
Yeah, a little bit lower comparatively to...
Well, you say that, but the others that are up there are like been around for a decade plus. And it's like, I'm not sure if there's any people that even use the wiki nowadays.
The other thing, and I've noticed this with a few of the other newer creepypastas, is that there's like this thing that says Creepypasta presents and then the story. So I wonder if that's like a competition thing or...
I think it's just kind of a branding thing.
Yeah, or branding or...
I think that's probably... Yeah, they're probably just doing that as like a branding thing with the newer ones now. I don't know. I don't really care. It doesn't really change much.
No.
All. We need a good story.
Yeah,
That's kind of what we're here for.
That's it at the end of the day. Because, yeah, I think I noticed it with the... Was it the remake of Jeff the Killer? I think it had that. I could be wrong, but yeah. Anyway, with this one, specifically published April 3, 2022.
April 3rd.
Oh, sorry. April 3rd, 2022. Currently, at this point in time, it is rated 8.53 out of 10 and with 118 votes. And author is Tennant.
Wait, that... I was going to say David Tennant. That would explain
Probably
why.
Yeah. So, yeah, interesting. I guess that's maybe something that we've also, or at least I've picked up on as well. Some of the newer ones, you get a little bit more information. There's not as elusive when it comes to...
Well, it makes sense considering I think a lot of the early ones would have been scraped off forum boards and that.
Yeah, that's what we've found so far.
Not only that, but again, it's kind of in the name because, well, creepypasta is kind of, sort of a play on copypasta.
Right.
Which
yes.
that kind of has its own whole interesting history, which I'm probably not the most qualified person to talk about. Like, I know a bit about it, but not enough to be not expert, but sure about what I'm saying.
Right. Anecdotal, I guess. I guess not as usual because this is also one that you haven't read either. So this is going to be very fresh, very new for the both of us as we read through.
Yeah, like I've been trying to get it into the newer ones, but it's kind of hard not to. It's like, I got the classics. You know, I'm going to go and read, let's say, fucking Dead Bart again, even though I've already read it 1,000 times.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. You know what you like. And there's also so many, so it's almost maybe like a little bit of option paralysis as well.
Oh, yeah.
And not wanting to sort of waste your time reading a piece of trash.
Oh, yeah, especially, again, when you've already kind of done that with some of the older ones, so you know what's good and what to avoid.
True.
Although, God, I think I'm never going to really run out of old ones. The more I think about it, 'cause it's like, okay, which one I could pick? And I'm like having a hard time, and it's like, and just now I was like, oh, it'd be nice to cover Abandoned by Disney, which I guess will be coming in the near future now.
I guess now that it's been mentioned, it has to happen. All right, let's get into it. I'm almost there. I'm so close, I could taste it. I hold 518 of 538 objects. Every runner quickens their pace when the end is in sight. Every seeker quickens their heartbeat with every object they find. Which one will end their quest alive? I've asked myself this time and again. The answer has always been the same. As I open the door to a mental institution in Wales, I'm suddenly not so sure. The location looks and smells like all the others. Grey, imposing, damp, reeking of despair. This isn't a place that well-meaning friends and family members visit, bearing bouquets and greeting cards. Once you're locked up here, you're forgotten. Will I be erased in the same manner? Only time and my contact will tell. I warily approach the desk, manned by a warier receptionist. None of them greet you with a grin. I used to think they wore masks of professional prudence, but such veils have been torn asunder with each of my visits. They're incapable of smiling. Closing my eyes and clearing my throat, I attempt my best Welsh. Rincesio deliad et vechu. I seek the holder of remorse. The receptionist pours himself a glass of water from a pitcher on the desk. I hear the gurgling in his throat, see his Adam's apple bob up and down. How long has it been since he's taken a drink? I suspect he hasn't quenched his thirst since the last seeker made the same request. Impossible. No. Here, all things may come to pass. He finishes and checks to make sure no one else is around. Then he shows me what he holds in his ever-busy hands. An ever-turning prayer wheel, crafted of ruby. What's a Buddhist artifact doing in Welsh territory? I want to ask, but my mouth won't move. I realize this question is as foolish as the one that began my journey. What happens when they all come together? Struggling to keep myself from remembering the answer, I wait for the holders. My vai o honum ene widbud. I shake my head, not understanding. We both know it, he says, but his lips don't move. He makes no sound. This, of course, is only natural. They can all read minds. What surprises me is this one's gentleness, his cautious care. Most of the holders I've met and defeated, bamboozled, beaten, cajoled, inveigled, and tricked, have been indifferent at best, hostile at worst. This man, spinning the wheel at a fixed pace in a clockwise direction, is circumspect. Why do you seek the objects? He asks me. For knowledge, because knowledge is power. The holder smiles. I slap my hand over my mouth to keep from screaming. And what has it cost you? Everything. Like the old stories say. No, more than that. I shudder as I recall the bodies I've broken, the minds I've shattered, and the souls I've damned. In my quest to reunite the 538, I've doomed hundreds and thousands more. Saul and King David have nothing on a seeker. You sound proud of that, are you? I considered my answer. The lobby of the institution, already chilly, drops to cold. I'm proud I've come this far. I try not to think about what I've done to reach you. Yet, you do. There's no use denying it. You survive on no food, water, air, or sleep. In fact, you don't need them anymore because of the objects, which siphon your humanity little by little. You have become as they are. Not completely. There are still 20 to be found, but you're far enough along to consider humanity beneath you. Am I right? I don't even think about lying to the holder. I simply nod. From the moment they wake to the moment they fall asleep, most humans boldly do what you secretly hate yourself for doing. They lie. They cheat. They steal and kill. They stamp others' faces beneath their boots because others stand in their way. Their desires are less grand than yours, but not by much. They seek only one object: fame, fortune, knowledge, personal power, even love. But the means they use to achieve their ends are the same. Not all of them are murderers, but ultimately that doesn't make much difference. The holder nods. Why? As Christians say, sin is sin. As I say, death is death. of the body or the soul? What about the spirit? Ah, the holder smiles again, and it freezes my blood. That's what's really being siphoned. Explain to me, if you will, the difference between the soul and the spirit. The soul is the part of you that loves its creator, whom we call God, and wants to reunite with him, just like the 538 objects seek to be reunited. I shudder. The spirit, on the other hand, is the part of you that's, well, you, separate and unique. It doesn't want to reunite with God, whether the creator or any other deity. It seeks godhood in its own right, to live forever as a master of the transcended universe. Correct. And you say the objects are siphoning my spirit, the part that's me? Also correct. That makes no sense. Why wouldn't they want to drain my creator's energy? Because, believe it or not, you are stronger. Stronger than God. Despite myself, I laugh out loud. That's absurd. I'm only a mortal. Indeed. At the moment you reunite the 538, you'll be immortal. Something clicks. With no body, soul, or spirit? That makes no sense. Your soul will remain intact, groaning under the weight of your sins for eternity. Remember, it loves God and wishes to be absorbed within him. Once you yourself become a god, you become his eternal enemy, which he cannot defeat. I don't have enough time to tell you why he can't, for my own hour draws near. Fine. I stretch out my hand. May I see the prayer wheel, please? It's exquisite. Before I surrender it, I'll make my counter proposal. I offer you a choice. Either you take the wheel, add it to your treasure trove, and continue your mission, or I make you its next holder. If you choose the former, you might die and be damned. If you choose the latter, your hands will become cleansed of death, your mind free of all torment, your soul revived, and your spirit restored. The objects shall release it. Wait, if the objects are vampiric and contain bits and pieces of my spirit, why wouldn't I get it back once I reunite them? Unless I myself become an object. Precisely, an idol. Not made of gold or stone, but a cruel conglomerate of what you have collected. You'll be worshipped by the multitudes perishing under your omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent gaze. Notice I didn't say omnibenevolent. You'll be omni-malevolent. All that humanity knows of evil will be embodied by you. You'll teach them to save and damn themselves at the same time. That's the price of the power you seek. But I'm already evil. I've forsaken the path of goodness 518 times. How and why should I quit now? It's like signing the devil's contract and leaving the last letter off your name. A mere technicality. Why shouldn't I finish what I've started? The holder, while spinning the wheel with one hand, lays his other one upon mine. That last letter is the difference between repentance and not being able to repent. The turning and the tipping point. Yes, you've come this far, but what has your journey given you? Strength, wisdom, and knowledge beyond measure. What has it taken from you? Everything else. Everything that made you strong, wise, and knowledgeable in a human sense. Don't underestimate the power of your kind. For every evil deed someone does, someone else does good. For every murder, theft, betrayal of love and honor, there is a life saved, a possession returned to its rightful owner, a vow and a lover sustained, and an obligation fulfilled. That is the duty I hold, and the balance I uphold. Every time I turn the wheel, I right a wrong. But the balance is tipping in evil's favor. I can now see my breath in the foyer of the institution. Its temperature is dropping fast. That's why I must turn it ever so steadily. 1 rotation per second, no more, no less. What if you turn it faster? Then evil will match and eventually surpass the pace. I swallow hard. Let's return to the issue at hand. Why would I forfeit my choice to become a god? An evil one, sure, but with more power than the creator himself. You said I'd become an object, but at least I'd be a sentient object, right? The holder nods. Okay, I won't be the gorgeous goddess I've dreamed of being ever since I was a child. Instead, I'll be this hideous mismatch of everything I've collected so far. The idea repulses me. But what do appearances matter if you're a deity? Even if I don't and can't shapeshift, I'll still hold every single iota of power in every single universe. That's the truth about these objects, isn't it? I'm the only one from this universe, or at least I will be. The other ones are from parallel universes, aren't they? Another nod. If they want to reunite, then that means they want to reach a singularity through me. Yes. And if they do, the air freezes in my throat. I cough. Then all the horrors I witnessed at the start of my mission will come to pass. But I don't know how or why. Can you tell me? The holder coughs as well. I'm afraid only the holder of the journey knows. The last one. If I beat them, take their object, make it mine, then victory at last. Is it? The holder at the reception desk offers me the ruby wheel. Heed my words, my prayers. I will retire to eternal rest or eternal anguish. It's up to you. Will you sacrifice the last shred of yourself to turn into what you already know will destroy you? Will you become proud of what causes good people to take their own lives in guilt and shame? I am no preacher, no wise man. I am only what I say I am. Is that a frost crystal on my cheek? Are more forming as I weep? Our time is running short. Within 30 seconds, we'll freeze to death. Words fly out of my constricting mouth before my brain registers their meaning. I want what the objects can give me. I am proud and wicked. Still, I need, say it. Redemption. Yet, if I find it, I'll lose all the power I've gained. The holder is weeping too. Choose wisely. How sweet it would be to make amends, to wash the slate clean, to turn the wheel. Yet how much sweeter would it be to usurp and kill the God who created me, to be the real Lord of Lords among all universes. Such power has called to us both. I beg you to resist. 20 seconds. I become an idol, the object of all objects. I destroy the demiurge. What then? A vision. The 538 finally fusing and shattering apart. Flying to the countless corners of existence? No, it can't be. Everything that is, has been. All that will be, shall be again. If they. I fall to the floor, my muscles stiff as boards. With the last of my strength, I cry, I'll hold it. I'll hold. I'll hold. My mentor presses his prayer wheel into my frozen hand and squeezes it. Warmth returns to the room, flooding us. The holder sublimates into vapor, rising and floating out of the only window in the room, rising up to the stars. A voice in my mind. Kalal Uklaflimde, Theorchen Frau, Friend. Maintain the pace. Thank you, friend. 1 rotation per second. To aid me in my new duty, I recite my new name. Tenet, tenant, tenet. As I hold the wheel, it holds me.
Wow. I gotta say, the Welsh was a bit of a pain for you too.
Yeah, that was an unexpected surprise.
Although saying that kind of got me thinking a bit. I think if I remember what I read correctly, German's closer to Old English than English is to Old English.
Yes. Yeah. That would make sense. But I guess, yeah, to the story, this it was pretty surprising. I guess I kind of like your terms when it comes to rating of like, is it a good story? And then is it a good creepypasta? Before we get to there, I kind of already think I know what you're going to say. But yeah, as for just like a good story, I think it does pretty well to sort of like draw you in. It is quite ambiguous though. I thought it was going to kind of go down like a video game route, just from the first few paragraphs.
Again, I think that would have hurt the story to go down that route personally.
Like, I guess it technically could still be, because it doesn't really say ground the story in reality. It's quite fantasy based, at least from my perspective. Or I guess it could even be almost sci-fi based as well. Like it's quite ambiguous. It doesn't really give you a whole lot to ground it. But as for just like, 2 very simple characters that go on a journey together that don't actually leave the space that they meet in, is pretty impressive storytelling.
Although there's a part of me that's like, what would have happened if he didn't take the role?
Well, I think as well. I mean, I also assumed that it was a man or a boy, but it does mention becoming a goddess. So I think our protagonist.
I say that, but I guess I should have rephrased it better. I was like, what if the person didn't take the role of it and just simply added the thing to the collection?
Yeah, I guess it kind of gives us. Well, it
sort of gives us. Yeah, it sort of gives us insight. But I'm just curious.
Yeah, I guess
that would have been kind of an interesting route to go down as well.
Yeah, the alternate version of where this story goes.
Although I guess this is a more interesting way to kind of have the story end because, well, it already even gave us glimpses into what would have happened if if the person continued down that route.
Yeah, it does. Like it pretty much sets out, like, obviously not specifics of the specific power and what the protagonist could do with that power that they achieve after gaining all of the objects, but a broad overview of becoming, more powerful than any god. And then I guess the question is, what do you do with all that power? Although
it's kind of implied that when you get all the things together, that they're just going to scatter all over the place again. So it just seems like it's even when you do achieve godhood, it only seems to be temporary until someone else gathers them all together again. That's what I kind of implied. So it doesn't seem like it's even permanent godhood, probably. But again, that's just my interpretation.
Yeah. I'm trying to, because it also,
I think it's back at the tail end.
Yeah, it also mentions that like there's others out there, other deities out there. So I assume that in other universes. So I would assume that you were the only deity in this universe, but as it sort of says at one point that the other deities could come together and so I don't know if the objects.
I was assuming that once the objects scattered, it would be 100 or would be 539 objects. That's what I'm trying to get at.
I don't think so, because we find out that that the holder is holding the object. So, or maybe I guess it's.
Well, let's just go back to the town where A vision, the 538 pound fusing together and shattering apart, flying to
existence. I guess that's an interesting term to use, existence, because it has been talking about different universes. So does is it creating a new universe? Is that the existence it's talking about? Is
Possibly.
it just all universes? If we're to believe in something like string theory or like the multiple universe
again,
planes.
what I'm kind of taking from it is that, besides the potential of, I guess it doesn't explicitly state, again, 539, but I kind of interpret it as, the fragments kind of, splitting off again, but there being an additional one. Not fragments, objects. I think that would have been interesting. Just a cycle that constantly repeats.
Yeah, it's interesting because, it doesn't mention, if once the protagonist becomes a god or a deity, is there a new object that's made for them, like a new totem that sort of symbolizes them specifically?
God, actually, now that I think about it, if I was to get all the pieces together, what would be my object? What do you think yours would be?
Probably some musical instrument. I think that would make sense for me.
I was gonna say like a cassette.
A cassette
tape.
That'd be interesting. That you have to constantly rewind. Because I guess that's sort of the thing as well. It's like each of the objects, they have purpose, and if you don't, like if you become the new holder of the object, you have a task to complete for eternity until someone else replaces you. So it's sort of, you have to have the object, but also the thing that you have to do with the object for until your time is through.
I was about to say I'd probably be the book of the malcontent.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Which I'm not sure what that says about me, but I think that would just be interesting.
So I guess what's the action as well? Do you have to write in everyone's bad thoughts for eternity, or do you have to read everyone's complaints? Maybe it's like Google reviews, just reading all the 1-star reviews for eternity.
God, that would suck.
Yeah.
Although imagine if you had to read. Oh God, that's actually just Twitter. Just reading bad takes on Twitter for the rest of your existence. Holy fuck that.
that should definitely be one of the levels of hell or purgatory, is just having to read Twitter feed for eternity. That would
fuck that.
That's not fun.
But I did like that idea. It's just a book of just this one's got grievances with the world.
That's pretty good.
It's like, I'm a god. I could probably fix whatever problems. Now I'm just going to sit here and bitch about them.
Yeah.
God, I can just imagine me just being a boomer being like, back in my day, we had it so fucking good.
Back in my day. That's the name of chapter 1. Back in my day.
Yeah. Just like, okay, this is when everything was good and not fucked.
Yes.
Oh, God, that actually is a fun idea. Now I want to play around with that.
I guess, going back to the story, it is interesting that the location is specifically a mental institution.
In Wales, of all places.
Yeah. I guess specifically when it comes to being a mental institution, that kind of leads me down the path of that there's maybe a little bit more going on here, that there is some sort of illness that I guess in the protagonist. So maybe like everything.
Yeah, I can definitely see kind of a sort of symbolic angle to it. But the question is he also just stuck there at the mental institution just spinning the wheel, or is he kind of free to go wherever he pleases? That's one question I have.
I assume stuck there.
That's what I kind of assume, but
that's a really good question, actually. It makes it seem like the holder doesn't leave this place.
Although saying that, what happens to all the other objects that person's collected? Has it
Yeah.
just been scattered, or is he
That's-
still in possession of them?
That's a good point as well, yeah. I think...
It definitely leaves a lot to think about.
Because, yeah, it talks about, if the protagonist is going to take over this position as the new holder, that, everything that they've gained so far would disperse from them. But, yeah, it doesn't say specifically the objects. So that's a really good point as well. I assume they probably would return, but then it's like, well, where are they returning to? Because it made it out as if that the protagonist has killed all of the other holders to acquire the objects. So yeah, where do the other objects go? I think it's a pretty good question that I don't think is really answered.
What if it just simply is just like dropped somewhere in the world and whoever first picks it up becomes the new holder? That's what I'm leaning towards.
Maybe.
If it was to leave the person's possession.
There's also this mention of Saul and King David. Yeah, and it says, have nothing on a seeker. I'm guessing our protagonist is the seeker, which would make sense, seeking the objects.
Although, by the sounds of that, I think King David, it would have to have biblical ties concerning King David. I think he's in the Bible.
It did mention, Christianity, a Buddhist artifact.
Yeah, first king,
So Saul, or King Saul, first king of Israel. And then, King David, king of ancient Israel. Okay, interesting. So, it's throwing in quite a few of, religious, biblical references throughout. Obviously, it goes into a lot of, the spirit and whatnot as well, and death.
Definitely. Although, I guess we haven't really been talking about the story that much. We've kind of been mostly theorizing about.
Yeah.
Although saying that, I think hundreds of people could read this and come away with different interpretations.
Oh, definitely. I think, the approach of the main body of the story, the conversation between the seeker and holder.
Solid.
Yeah, I think that's where the interpretation sort of lies in, whether it is like fully inside the person's head, whether it's actually happening, and it's sort of like, biblical in a big sense, where a lot of the time the stories in many religious texts are stand-ins for lessons for life, sort of thing, how to be, a generous person, or at least a contributor to society in a positive way. So I think that's kind of where this is like going as well. It's like, you spent all this time taking. Now it's time to finally start giving. I guess it does feel somewhat forced though. And that's where the freezing, the cold comes in.
Well, I think it's a good thing because it does kind of force the person's hand.
Yeah, it makes sense. I guess, again, is that something from outside the story or outside the perspective of the protagonist? Like, is that potentially, say, for instance, it is a person in a mental institution, is like the freezing, the medication that they're being given, to calm them down, sort of thing, and that it's like it's taking effect? Or is it, just sort of like a way of pushing the protagonist in the right direction so that the story can finish and make sense in the way that it does?
I was saying, I need a bloody cup of tea to think about this a bit more. I'm I'm having a hard time just fucking keeping the lights on.
Yeah. It's definitely one, you can go very in-depth with. Yeah, this is one I think I could probably sit and sink my teeth into and talk about for quite a while, but...
I guess we already have.
Yeah.
So I think we should probably start wrapping it up.
Yes, for sure. So I guess when it comes to ratings, I am also going to follow your lead from, I guess, the last one and rating for the story and rating for CreepyPasta.
I think I've usually done it for every single one, almost.
Almost, yeah. When I went through last time and checked them, there was maybe only one that you didn't. But I guess, yeah, to rating this one as a story, I really like it. I really enjoyed it. I think I'm probably going to go 8.5 out of 10.
So basically what the consensus is.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't go as high as a 9, but yeah, definitely about an 8.5 out of 10, I think. For me, as a creepypasta, I don't think it quite gets there to, like a spooky factor or a scary factor or anything frightening or sort of skin crawling in that way. So probably like a 2 or 3.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to be coming in here. I'm probably going to give it a 7.7 as a whole.
7.7.
Which, yeah, it's pretty solid. But again, there's kind of just a lot of questions that I would like to have been answered. But then I guess it doesn't answer everything, which I kind of also like. So I guess I'm being a little bit of hypocritical here. But I think it achieves the right balance of telling you just enough, but also leaving quite a bit up to interpretation, which I kind of like the most in stories because it kind of does feel a bit painful where, especially in stories that go into painstaking detail about everything, because it just leaves nothing up to the imagination.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just better to be able to leave it up to the person's interpretation than explain everything.
Yes.
That's kind of what I like about like older films and that they kind of don't, tell you everything that's... actually, I should probably use a bit more of a better example. Like what I like about the Saw films is that, again, they tell you everything at the end, but...
You've got that.
You got all the pieces throughout the film.
Yeah.
And then, again, especially with some of the ones that did the twist really well, as soon as they reveal the twist, it's like everything just clicks.
Yeah.
That's what I really liked about the first one. Like, they did that, like, insanely well.
Yes, they did. Are you going to give a creepypasta rating as well?
Yeah, I know. It's a bit... I guess this is where I'm going to probably differ from you a bit. I'm probably going to give it a 4.
Okay.
As well. Yeah, it's not quite your typical creepypasta, but again, I kind of like ones that make me think, and this kind of does, make me want to think about it a bit more.
Yeah.
Hell, it's probably one of the few that I've actually kind of put some thought into, like, potential theories and that. I think there's a few where I kind of give my ideas and my interpretations, but not one where I'm just kind of going into depths of certain ideas or concepts I have that haven't been quite filled in.
For sure.
And it's just one of those stories where, you can kind of come up with whatever you want and it will probably sound somewhat plausible.
Yeah. I think there's, definitely room for that for sure. I think that pretty much concludes us for this one. I guess let us know, what do you guys think of Held? And what would you rate it out of 10? Do you agree with the, consensus rating on the website of a 8.53 out of 10? And I guess, does this deserve to be on the famous list as well?
I think it kind of does. I think it's definitely a good example of what a more modern one should be, which...
That's an interesting point, actually.
And the only reason probably why I didn't rank it high as a creepypasta is that my scale's, I guess, a bit more biased is more geared towards traditional.
Yeah.
So I think as a modern, it would probably... Actually, great. Now I'm going to have to add another rating. I guess I might as well, even though I think it's probably not going to be something I'm going to use somewhat regularly, but as a more modern one, I would, as a creepypasta, I'd definitely give it an 8.
Okay.
So when scaled to more modern counterparts, I'd say, this is kind of something you want to aim for.
Nice.
Because especially considering, it's not as lengthy as some of the more modern ones.
True.
Like, I think I've seen some modern ones there that would probably be about as long as the Lord of the Rings books.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a few there when we've looked in the past.
Oh, yeah, like, I want to do the showers, but that's like, I think some videos out there are like 3 hours long, and that's just narrating the story.
Yeah, that'd be a big one.
Oh, that's good. If a creepypasta doesn't come out for a while,
Yeah.
you know why.
That's why. So I guess up next will be a Briggsy pick. You've suggested a few different ones over the past couple of episodes, but have you chosen one specifically?
I think most of the ones I've kind of brought up already I've covered. I think the only ones I haven't covered yet are 1999 and Abandoned by Disney, which I brought up Abandoned by Disney in this episode. Although, did I bring up 1999 at the end of the previous one I did?
I don't know if it was the previous one, but you've definitely brought it up before.
Although I may get around to doing the showers, but... Well, I guess the Harbinger experiment was kind of sort of not only me trying out some new things, which is obvious from the video, but also kind of dipping my toes into some of the longer stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling a bit confident to getting around to doing the showers, but I think that would probably be around the middle of this year.
It might be a once a year sort of thing. We do one really big one.
Although there's not many big ones that I can think off the top of my head that I would really cover.
Guess
Although I wouldn't mind getting around to covering the day I hired a hitman on myself. Because I just like that story. Although I think that one's kind of been sort of scrubbed off the internet. But, I think its later parts are. I know Corpse Husband has done a video on, I think, the first two parts. And I think they may still be up around somewhere.
Oh, okay. Right.
But I think some of the later parts may not be available.
A little bit of digging, maybe.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Although, I think another one, which is actually my favorite to go back to on Corpse Husband's channel, is the Search and Rescue series, which...
Okay.
Oh, boy, that's going to be a bit of a long one, but it's actually kind of interesting, and I think that one we may just kind of actually even may not do as one long whole stretch, considering it is basically a series of updates.
Ah, okay.
So I think we may just go update by update.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Yeah. And just chuck them in a playlist at the end. That would make sense.
Or I think I would love to have one long one. I think we probably kind of do it as one long one, but we just break up in between updates to give our thoughts on those updates. Because I think it'd probably be hard to try and remember everything from the first update.
Sure.
But at the time we get to the final one.
On how big the updates are.
Like, I think the early ones are not really that big, but there's some that are quite big.
Right. Okay.
After all, it's kind of like each update is kind of like a series of stories. I think and some do get expanded on later on, and that'll be interesting especially for you, considering you'll probably be, I say I know what's coming next, but it's been a while.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to see what you would theorize.
Yeah, between each update. That'd be interesting. Okay.
I think I might do that first before the showers.
That'd be
because
cool.
I think just the way that the showers flows, you have to kind of do it as one big thing.
Yeah. Okay. I guess we'll see. All right. I guess thanks for following along and catch us in the next one.
Oh, yeah, definitely. See yous.